Yeah, hi, Chuck. I think we all agree that Ghost had a pretty good year last season coming back from the surgeries. With that in mind, were you surprised that no teams were willing to offer anything for him?
Yeah, to be honest with you, a little bit. But in saying that, it's a tough environment out there right now. It's tough to move money. I think everybody saw that last night with the Seattle expansion draft, and I had many conversations with Ron Francis before, and I spoke to him last night and again today, and he made clear they wanted to keep their powder dry, and cap space is so important, and teams are going to be in trouble. If not now, then later on the summer or next year, and just having multiple opportunities to quote unquote help other teams, and the environment's tough. First of all, look, Shayne played really well for us, not just last year, but for many years. Was a model citizen. He was at Skate Zone today, working out on his own and training. He's a true professional. He was a very good flyer, so I really want to thank him for that. But our reality was pretty simple, and when you factor in, the expected raises that Sanheim and Carter Hart will receive, and we very much want to sign those two players. We didn't have a lot of space left to fill the holes we needed to fill. So we made the move we had to make. I spoke to every team in the league several times over the, really going back a year and a half now, had a pretty good idea of what the market was. A couple teams that made offers. One team had asked for Cam York to take Gostisbehere. Another team had asked for our first round pick this year to take Gostisbehere. So this was the best move we could make, and hopefully now it allows us to get into some other opportunities over the next few days.
Sam, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, please. What was Shayne's reaction to the deal?
Shayne didn't have a lot to say. He was professional. We just thanked each other. I think I'm sure anytime you get that call, I don't know that it was unexpected. We've had a lot of conversations over the years, and when Shayne wasn't playing as much, about maybe trying to find him a better opportunity, but he loved it here. I know that. And yet I think Arizona is excited to get him, and I'll let them speak to it, but sounds like he'll have an opportunity to have a bigger role there than he potentially would have had here.
Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Chuck. In the wake of this trade, I guess, how do you evaluate your cap situation now? Do you think you'll need to move more pieces out, or where do you think you stand in the moment?
Well, better, obviously better. I think we have the ability to fill all our holes and maybe focus in on one or two of them. Ideally, if you can make a hockey trade where you're moving dollars and taking dollars on, and that can maximize your cap space. So we'll just look and see. I would say we're involved in a lot of conversations right now, as you tend to be this time of the year. Free agency's less than a week away, and free agency can be good and bad. Certainly have an opportunity maybe to fill some holes, but I don't know that we're in a position to be chasing players and outbidding teams. So we'll see what we can do here in advance of free agency. We're certainly in a better position, not just for this year, but also for 22-23 with this move today. And yet we recognize we have a few more holes to fill.
Charlie, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah. With regards to Ghost, did the timeline of Cam York, who you guys are really high on, and the fact that he's closing in on NHL readiness, did that play into why maybe you felt Ghost was expendable?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, both Cam York and Zamula are young players that we hope over the next 12 months can push for an NHL roster spot, and certainly that would influence that decision. And part of it too is the ability to make a deal. It's hard to move. I think you guys saw that yesterday. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of players around the league that are very good hockey players that were not selected by Seattle for the very same reasons that I made this move today. Cap space is really, really tough. And, for the foreseeable future, next 2-3 years, it's not going to improve all that much, and everybody's pretty careful.
Jordan Hall, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Jordan.
Did the acquisition of Ryan Ellis also sort of play into this decision, Chuck? Just the fact that I would envision a whole play on a power play, and then you have Ivan Provorov as well, and then obviously a power play quarterback is something that Gostisbehere does. Did that play into the decision?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously, I think we easily could have had a team with both players on it. We took on a little cap space, with looking at the Ellis Meyer salary differential with Patrick. That did, obviously that decreased the amount of available cap space we had. So this was purely a cap move. And again, going back to what Charlie mentioned earlier, we do feel in the not too distant future that players like Cam York and Igor Zamula can come in and play for this club and help this club and do so on, potentially on an entry level deal, which is beneficial in the cap system.
Anthony Sanfilippo, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck. Obviously, a lot of people would think that, the price that you have to pay to move salary is a little bit steep. And obviously, it is for everybody. It was for the Islanders even yesterday as well. How long did you kind of know that this is what the price was going to be for you to move that kind of salary in the world, the flat cap world that you're going to be in? And did you kind of anticipate this for a long while?
Yeah, I first spoke to Bill Armstrong about this. I'm trying to remember. We were in Buffalo, so I'm not sure. Maybe the last time we were in Buffalo. So I believe it was after the trade deadline. I can't remember, but it's been several months, and we talked about this concept, and we both wanted to wait till after the expansion draft, just to let the landscape settle a little bit. And so I've spoken with Bill several times over the last few weeks about this type of situation. Obviously, I worked hard to see if I could improve upon this or look at different options. I did speak to Seattle about them, and this was a much better situation for us than that. So, we looked at every available alternative, and this is where we are today.
Rob Parent, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Chuck. Excuse me. Does this make it more feasible that you can come to a longer-term deal with Carter Hart? I know he's an RFA, but would you rather get him locked down at maybe some more years and more money, and which is why you might have?
I don't know that this would impact that either way. We've made our qualifying offer to Carter, and probably next week, I'll have some preliminary conversations with Carter's representative, and there's really no hurry there. We'll just see. We haven't had a lot of conversations yet about the contract, and just like we haven't with Sanheim or other people as well. It's just that time of the year is sort of coming. We'll get a feel for what their preferences are and what the price point would be at different term lengths, like you always do, and see what makes sense. But I think it's really important right now that we take care of kind of the immediate holes that we need to fill, whether it's through trade or through free agency, because those things dry up right away, and then we'll have time after that to to look and do the right thing for both our players and our team with respect to those restricted free agents.
Bill Meltzer, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Chuck. At this point, has the outlook changed at all regarding using versus moving the 13th pick, or is it still too fluid to lean one way or the other?
Well, I was pretty adamant I wasn't going to use it to dump salary. I did make that decision. Look, we're certainly ready to draft at 13. I would say that I'm very open-minded to using it if we can add a player that can help us. So I'm probably more active and listening on 13 this year than I have been in previous years. In fairness, last year we really didn't have any cap space, and so didn't really make a lot of sense. But this year we have a little more flexibility. So if something makes sense via trade, we'll certainly look at it and potentially do it. But yet, we're happy to pick at 13 too. So, but yeah, we're open-minded, and that's really what the last little while has been all about. And certainly a lot of calls today, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more going until tomorrow afternoon.
Wayne Fish, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Wayne.
Hi, Chuck. Shayne got off to such a great start here in Philadelphia, but things seem to sort of flatten out the last few years. Was it just a case of injuries, or was he not a good fit here right now, or what do you think happened?
Well, I think, I wasn't here when he first broke in. I certainly remember watching the Flyers play and scouting him, and he had some tremendous seasons. Injuries certainly impacted him really since I started here. My first season when I came in, he wasn't 100%. And really the next year he wasn't 100%. And this was the first year that he was better and trying to regain his timing. And I think he played better. So, I think the talent level of the defense corps probably improved as some of the young players have emerged and gotten better. But certainly injuries impacted him. And now we have a flat salary cap. So, I think you're going to see there's been some movement already, and whether it's through expansion or pre expansion draft list going in, and you'll see a lot more. I mean, there's just not a lot of liquidity, a lot of frustrated teams, and I think you'll see a lot of moving parts here for various reasons. And they're good players. There's good players going each way, but everybody's looking for maybe to fill a hole, and you think you got enough depth and you can fill a different hole. So you're going to see a lot of that stuff here, I think, the next week or so, and it should be exciting. But again, it's this environment's been complicated, yet there's going to be a lot of movement.
We'll do two more questions. Rob Parent, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Thank you. Chuck, you talked about the holes you guys have. Backup goalie is an obvious one. It would seem like going in now, you would be pretty young on defense. So what do you think? What about these holes? What kind of priorities do you have, or can you see from this point right now?
Well, I think we're a little more experienced on defense, adding Ellis. I mean, that to me was a huge priority. I think you could argue it was probably our biggest hole, and add a player that can, very good penalty killer, play on the power play, play all situations, play big minutes, pair really well either with Provorov or Sanheim, bring that character element, the intangibles we talk about, the leadership and the experience. So, that was important. Certainly we're going to look at other options. We need to make a decision about the number 2 goalie. Clearly, we need to make look at one or two other opportunities on defense. We have some guys internally that can push, but we certainly are still looking at the outside, and we have some other holes up front. And what we can get at what price will be a determining factor in which way we go. Our cap space will be a determining factor, and trying to make judgments on which young players we think are closest to making it will also be a factor. So we have all our staff in, we're meeting, we're talking, it's been a lot of fun. It's been busy, but that's exactly what we're going to try to determine here over the next week, and see if we can add another piece or two. And you never know. I believe we can, but we'll see. And I do expect we'll have a better team by the end of next Wednesday, and that's exciting. But we have a lot of work to do.
And the last question, Sam Carchidi, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chuck. Before I ask the question, I just wanted to clarify something. Did you retain any of Ghost's salary?
No, that's why we paid the picks.
Okay. And question is would you say that, acquiring or signing a right-handed second pair defenseman is a high priority, or would you be comfortable if Travis Sanheim moved over to the right side?
Yeah, high priority. I mean, obviously it's something we're looking at. We wanted to add one coming into the summer, and to get Ellis, we moved Myers. So, we really like Ellis, but, certainly we like Braun. I'm very pleased with Ellis and Braun. So, Sanheim could move to the right side. We could fill, Cam York can play. We have Hag and Moran. You also can add a left shot, you can add a right, it's going to be, there's the ideal world, there's the real world. I mean, sure, a right shot would be great. There's not a lot of supply. So we'll see if there's something there that we can find that makes sense that we can acquire and fit in our cap. And if not, again, I'm comfortable. We have players that can play on the right side. We have young players that can step up. And so we'll see how it plays out. But those are exactly the things we're exploring right now, Sam.
Okay, Chuck, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody.